Today I'm going to show you how to make cream cheese mints. These are perfect for weddings or parties. They're super easy to make, and they freeze really well. So you can make them weeks in advance, pop them in the freezer, and come the day of the party or wedding reception, it's one less thing to worry about. So all you have to do is get your molds. So for this one, I have two molds. We have a little flower one, and then we have a heart-shaped one. And you make up your cream cheese mixture. You can get the recipe on my blog. The link is at the bottom of this video. It's at what88.com. And basically, you're going to use that cream cheese mixture. It's kind of the consistency of a Play-Doh is ideally what you want it to be. And you're just going to roll it into a ball and then roll it into sugar. And then once it's a sugar ball there, you're going to just push it into the mold. Now, you don't want to have too much, and it's kind of one of those trial and error things. The more that you do it, you'll start to learn about the right amount of the cream cheese mixture to use, because if you get too much, it'll be bigger than your mold, and so when you pop it out of the mold, it'll have lines around the outside of the mold impression. And that's okay. I mean, when they dry, you can pop them off. They're kind of like a perforated edge, and they'll pop right off. Once you have your mold full, make sure they're all pressed into the mold really well, because that's what's going to give them their shape. We use wax paper because they're easy to slide around on there while they're drying. Just flip your mold over and pop them out. Sometimes they take a little coaxing to get them out. Now, once you pop them out, you want to be really careful and not move them any more than you have to. Just kind of flip them over and let them dry. The more you touch them, they're still pretty soft, so the more you touch them, you'll disfigure them and they won't have the same shape that you want to achieve from the mold. So you want to just let them dry for a little bit before you move them a whole lot. That's why we put them on the wax paper. So then you're going to keep working on that. Just fill your mold, flip them out, and then you want them to sit out to dry for a couple of hours, long enough that they get kind of a crust on the outer edge, and they'll still be soft on the inside, but you want to be able to touch them and move them without disfiguring them, right? Because you want them to have that mold shape. So let them dry. We usually leave them out to dry for a couple of hours, and then when they're set up and they're firm enough and they're dry enough that you can handle them without disfiguring them, that's when we'll put them into bags and we'll put them in the freezer. And they defrost quick and easy. They're so easy. Growing up, my mom did weddings, and we did these all the time. They're perfect to have everybody help with. I've got my kids helping to make these for my daughter's tea party. And there's something, especially if you're trying to do a budget wedding and do some of the catering and things like that yourself, these are great because they're super cheap to make. They're easy. They're just a little time consuming, but we'd get the whole family around the table and everybody would be making them together, pop on a movie, and you'd be surprised how many you can make in just a couple of hours. And you can customize these, so you can make them any color you want. You add the food coloring to whatever color you want. So your wedding colors, this was for a tea party, so we did pink and purple. And for my brother's wedding, he had sunflowers. So for those, we did a sunflower mold, and we made them yellow, orange, and brown. And it was perfect. So you can customize them to whatever mold you want, mold shape, whatever color, they're perfect. They're really great. And they're just a simple, easy mint to have at parties. I do recommend with the molds, don't get too big. The bigger the mold, the longer they're going to take to dry and set up. Even our heart mold that we used this time was too big, and it took forever for those hearts to dry. And honestly, we ended up just throwing a lot of them away because after hours of sitting out and drying out, they still weren't set up to a point where we could transport them without them squishing in your fingers as you're trying to move them. So you want these little flower molds here. The flowers are about the circumference of a quarter, and they're probably about ½ an inch thick, and that is perfect. That is pretty perfect. You can get these molds on Amazon. You can get them at place of craft stores like Michael's or Joann's. You can get them, even sometimes Walmart has them. wedding supply stores, things like that would have these kind of molds. You can also use these molds with candy chocolates and or other chocolate, and you can make other molds. We did that for my brother's wedding for the sunflowers as well. We made some chocolate ones where we did the centers chocolate and then the edges yellow, the yellow candy mold stuff. And those were fun, but they were a lot more time consuming than these because you had to wait for each layer to set up. But the molds are fun. They're easy to have on hand. There's a lot of things you can do with them. So you can see it doesn't take very long to fill a mold up. And once you have it, just pop it. So these ones, I just scoot those other ones out. They've had a few minutes to dry, enough that I could slide them without damaging them. Now, as you're doing that, if you find any that have imperfections, go ahead and you can throw them away, or we always have kids volunteering to taste test them, you know, so that's fine. We always say, you can taste test the ugly ones. So the ones that you don't want for your party, those are the ones that people get to sample while they're making them. And so just remember, if they're sticking too much, usually it means you didn't use enough sugar. You didn't roll them in enough sugar. So make sure you're rolling them in plenty of sugar before you're pushing them into the mold. And otherwise, and push them down hard into the mold so they really get that shape to them. And they get that pattern, because that's why you have the mold. You want them to have that cute little pattern. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You want a few tips. You want to make sure that your cream cheese mixture is about the consistency of Play-Doh. If it's too thin, too sticky, you're going to have a hard time rolling it in a ball first before rolling it in the sugar. And that's kind of, we struggled with that. I should have made ours a little thicker. If you don't roll it into a ball before rolling it into the sugar, this is what happens. So this is the one my daughter was doing with the heart mold, and she was rolling it in the sugar first, then rolling it into the balls, and it was just a big sticky mess. Bless her heart. She really was trying to help. But do you see all those cracks in the hearts? So what had happened, she was rolling the dough, the mixture, cream cheese mixture, into sugar and then trying to roll it in a ball. And that sugar was creating a barrier, and it wasn't letting the cream cheese blend together into a ball. So it basically had all these cracks in it, and that's no good. You don't want that, because that won't work for your cream cheese mints. Plus, these heart ones were they were big. That mold is really big. You see, it's like almost double the size of those other ones in thickness, and it just took a long time. One thing you can do is sprinkle sugar in the bottom first, because they were tending to stick in this mold more than the other ones. I did try that, but unfortunately, like I said, these hearts we had so much stuff stick to them, I really wouldn't recommend it. So stick with the smaller molds. Like I said, about a quarter in diameter and about ½ an inch thick is ideal. And make them whatever colors you want, and there's so many fun different patterns you can do, and have fun with these. I hope that this video and tutorial helped you, and you were able to learn some tips and tricks, and you can do your own party with your own little cream cheese mints and save some money and make some cute little accessories for your party. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe. That really helps us on our channel, and it definitely is motivating for me to continue to do tutorials and videos like this, because they do take a lot of time to edit and put together. But I totally appreciate you for watching and subscribing, and I hope you have a great day.